Hey, welcome to World Mind Hub. Please subscribe the channel and press the bell icon for more updates. The news was shocking. No one saw it coming, and the world seemed to pause for a moment as the headlines flashed across screens everywhere. Canada had closed the Alaska Highway, a move that instantly disrupted the daily lives of thousands and sent ripples through both nations. This vital artery, which for decades had connected Alaska to the rest of the continent, was suddenly severed. The sense of isolation in Alaska grew overnight, as if the state had been cut off from the world. Premier Dana Chura's bold move sent shockwaves far beyond North America. Newsrooms buzzed with speculation, and headlines screamed of crisis and confrontation. Concrete barriers and stern officials now blocked the once busy route, making it clear that this was no temporary measure. The closure, announced at dawn, was swift and uncompromising. Within hours, the highway was empty, its silence echoing the seriousness of the situation. Canada cited months of unresolved trade disputes with Washington as the reason, but the underlying tensions had been simmering for much longer. This was no longer just about tariffs or trade deals, it had become a matter of sovereignty, pride, and respect on the world stage. Trucks carrying perishable goods were turned back, risking millions in losses. Families on both sides of the border found themselves stranded, their plans and livelihoods suddenly uncertain. The Alaska Highway, once a proud symbol of international cooperation and unity, now stood as a stark marker of division and discord. For decades it had represented friendship and open borders. Now it was the flashpoint of a growing conflict, a line in the sand that neither side seemed willing to cross. The world watched with bated breath, wondering how the United States would respond to this unprecedented geopolitical earthquake. Conversations in cafes, offices, and homes everywhere turned to the crisis. Canada, often seen as the quieter partner in North American affairs, had drawn a bold, unmistakable line, one that demanded attention and respect. The silent, barricaded road at dusk spoke volumes about a relationship under immense strain, leaving everyone to wonder what would come next in this unfolding drama. Former President Donald Trump's response was immediate and incendiary. He blasted Canada on social media. "Total disgrace, they will pay big time." His followers echoed the outrage, demanding retaliation. Trump framed the closure as an attack on America, calling for massive new tariffs and even harsher measures. "We built that road for them during the war. They forget," he declared. His rhetoric inflamed tensions, complicating diplomatic efforts. Cable news dissected every word. Was this bluster or a call to escalate? Trump's intervention put pressure on U.S. negotiators and risked inflaming Canadian opinion. His team released a statement calling Canada's action hostile and demanding the highway reopen. The threat of severe consequences loomed. Trump's fury ensured the crisis dominated headlines. The world waited to see if the U.S. government would follow his aggressive lead. This crisis was the result of years of simmering trade disputes. U.S. tariffs on Canadian softwood lumber and maple syrup had long angered Ottawa. Canada, in turn, imposed counter-tariffs on American goods. The tit-for-tat trade war hurt businesses and consumers on both sides. Premier Chura warned that Canada's patience was running out. The closure of the Alaska Highway marked a dramatic escalation, moving from economic penalties to direct action. Canadian officials argued U.S. tariffs violated trade agreements. The highway shutdown was presented as a last resort to force Washington's hand. It was a high-stakes gamble, but Chura's government felt the economic pressure was intolerable. The world saw Canada using new disruptive tactics. The message Canada would not be pushed around. The highway became leverage in a bitter standoff. The stakes had never been higher. The Alaska Highway is more than just a road. It's a living ribbon of history, stretching across vast wilderness and connecting distant communities. For decades, it has stood as a testament to human determination and ingenuity, carving a path through some of the most rugged and remote terrain in North America. Built at breakneck speed during the urgency of World War II, the highway was a strategic lifeline, linking Alaska to the rest of North America and ensuring vital military and supply routes remained open. Over 10,000 Americans and Canadians, soldiers, engineers, and civilians joined forces, braving harsh weather, dense forests, and treacherous conditions to complete the project in under a year. Their teamwork forged not just a road, but a lasting bond between two nations. For Alaska, the highway is a vital lifeline, providing access to goods, services, and connection to the outside world. For Canada, it's a crucial artery, threading through isolated communities and supporting their survival and growth. When the highway closes, it's not just an inconvenience, It's a fundamental disruption to daily life, cutting off essential supplies, emergency services, and the flow of people and ideas. The towns and villages along the route depend on the steady stream of travelers for commerce, tourism, and their very livelihoods. Each closure ripples through local economies, leaving businesses struggling and communities isolated. The closure is a double-edged sword, a national decision that brings local pain, sparking frustration and concern among residents who rely on the highway for everything from groceries to medical care. The road's symbolic weight is immense. Born from cooperation in a time of crisis, it has long represented the strength of the U.S. Canada partnership and the power of unity in the face of adversity. Now, with barricades and closed gates, the highway stands as a stark reminder that even the strongest foundations can be shaken, and that the ties binding nations can be tested. Once a bridge between peoples, the Alaska Highway has become a symbol of division, its empty stretches echoing the uncertainty of the present moment. The proud legacy of partnership and shared achievement is now overshadowed by confrontation and unease, as communities on both sides grapple with the consequences. The silence on the road is deafening. Where once there was movement and connection, now there is only stillness. It feels as if history itself has paused, waiting for the next chapter to be written. The economic shock was immediate. In Alaska, grocery shelves emptied, fuel prices soared, and businesses faced chaos. The state's fragile supply chain, reliant on the highway, was thrown into disarray. Alternative routes by sea were slower and costlier. Tourism collapsed as summer travelers canceled plans. Charter flights surged, but couldn't replace the highway's volume. Canadian towns like Watson Lake and Fort Nelson lost their main income overnight. Gas stations, motels, and restaurants faced ruin. Truckers were stranded, cargo at risk, and logistics companies scrambled for solutions. Rerouting goods was expensive and slow. The trucking industry was paralyzed. The closure exposed the vulnerability of interconnected economies. The pain was sharp, widespread, and deeply personal. Two leaders, two styles. Premier Dana Chura projected calm resolve, explaining Canada's position with measured words. She emphasized defending Canadian interests and seeking fairness. Chura's briefings highlighted the impact of U.S. tariffs and Canada's efforts at diplomacy. "We value our relationship, but it must be based on respect," she said. Her approach was reluctant but firm, action taken only after exhausting other options. In contrast, Trump's response was all fury and confrontation. His all-caps posts and fiery speeches painted Canada's move as betrayal. He demanded a hardline U.S. response, leaving little room for nuance. The contrast was stark. Chura, the strategist; Trump, the agitator. Their leadership styles shaped public perception and global reactions. Chura's calm projected control. Trump's rage risked escalation. The standoff became as much about personalities as policy. The world watched the standoff with fascination and concern. For many nations, this was a test. Could a middle power like Canada push back against U.S. pressure? Some countries quietly sympathized, seeing Chura's move as bold. International forums buzzed. Was this a new playbook for dealing with American trade tactics? The possibility of copycat actions worried Washington. Speculation grew. Would Canada escalate further, perhaps targeting pipelines or rail links? Each option carried huge risks of U.S. retaliation. Premier Chura kept future plans secret, maintaining strategic ambiguity. The UN called for calm and dialogue. The crisis exposed the fragility of even the closest alliances. The world waited, anxious for the next move. Beyond politics, real people suffered. Truck drivers were stranded, incomes frozen, families waiting anxiously. Summer vacation plans were ruined, deposits lost, families separated. Small businesses along the highway faced layoffs and closure. Owners worried about bills and survival. Indigenous communities saw their travel and trade disrupted. The crisis added complexity to their relationship with both governments. The human cost was economic, emotional, and social. Policy decisions in distant capitals had profound effects on individual lives. The voices of ordinary people, drivers, families, business owners, spoke of frustration and uncertainty. The highway's closure was not just a geopolitical event, it was a personal crisis for thousands. The pain was real, and it was everywhere. This crisis is a stark lesson in the importance of good neighborly relations. When tensions rise between neighbors, the consequences can be swift and far-reaching, affecting not just governments but the daily lives of millions. The U.S. and Canada share deep economic and cultural ties, built over generations of cooperation and mutual respect. Our economies are intertwined, with goods, services, and people flowing freely across the border, enriching both nations. The standoff shows how quickly strong bonds can fray when disputes fester. What once seemed unbreakable can unravel in moments, leaving uncertainty and hardship in its wake. Diplomacy and negotiation are crucial. Escalation only hurts ordinary people. When leaders fail to find common ground, it's families, workers, and communities who pay the price. The Alaska Highway was built on cooperation in crisis. Now, that spirit is needed again. History reminds us that when we work together, we can overcome even the toughest challenges. Prolonged conflict would harm both nations and ripple across North America. The effects would be felt in lost jobs, disrupted supply chains, and weakened communities far beyond the border. Good neighbors support each other and resolve differences amicably. True partnership means listening, understanding, and finding solutions that benefit everyone. This is a wake-up call. Even close friends must work at their relationship. Trust is built over time, but it can be tested in moments of crisis. It's up to both sides to nurture and protect it. The path forward requires de-escalation and a return to talks. Only through honest dialogue and compromise can we restore stability and hope. Reopening the highway would signal progress and renewed trust. It would show the world that even after conflict, reconciliation and cooperation are possible. The world needs more bridges, not barricades. In times of uncertainty, building connections is more important than ever. The U.S. Canada relationship is too important to be defined by conflict. Our shared history and future demand that we find common ground and move forward together. It's time to rebuild, not retreat. By choosing collaboration over confrontation, we can ensure a brighter future for both nations and set an example for the world.